Yeah,
I'll
I mean
take
he's gonna
Sam Darnold in
yeah,
a heartbeat.
he's gonna I mean he's gonna be a free agent next year. You've already heard the comments about, Aaron Rodgers is likely done as a Jet, and
Oh, that fucker could go to the Vikings.
and Woody Johnson wanted to get him benched after week 4 and all of this craziness.
Oh man, don't oh that
Um
that fucking oh
that was crap. When I heard that statement, I
yeah.
was just like, yeah, okay, now I know why everybody's fired. Because if the owner said like, hey, maybe we should bench Rodgers, and then y'all said no, we don't bench Rodgers, and then you don't bench Rodgers, and then you still losing.
It was
Okay,
actually
now I get why
worse.
he fired everybody.
It was actually worse. I started digging more into it. It's actually worse than that stuff. But not only he was asking for Rodgers to get benched, when people didn't agree with him, he would bring in more people from his little yes men, and they started agreeing with him on these stupid things. So of course he thinks he's right, and then he decides to let me get rid of these football people who know what they're doing, who actually built this team from crap. Because if you remember, Joe Douglas might not be the greatest GM of all time. I've been hyping. I, as a fan, been hyping him up as the goat, but that's no more. Of course, he's like the other goat type of goat from the Daily News. The bad goat. But but he's not listening to people. And if you remember, the Jets was crap. It was a horrible team when Joe Douglas came in, and
Yeah.
he built in all these names and stuff like that. But Woody Johnson is the reason why this team is destroyed. Is he? Nope, he doesn't want to listen to nobody. He's extremely meddling into things. He even was saying stuff like bench the safety and stuff like that. Why is he doing this?
Outs
Is he
yeah.
interviewing after?
Outside of Rodgers, I do understand. Like, I don't understand why Douglas ever traded for Hassan Reddick if he didn't check with
It,
the owner about getting a new contract. Because that's the
no,
one thing that makes me
no,
go, you
I
can't
digged
trade for
into
this guy
that.
if you know the owner won't pay.
No, I read into that. I think quite. I read parts of that because I don't. I'm too cheap to pay for the Athletic, which is $1 a bet. Um, from what I heard is basically
Yes.
that Woody didn't want to re-sign Bryce Huff.
Puff.
He didn't want
Yeah.
to sign those other two guys that we got rid of. I forgot the guys' names on the top of my head right now, but those guys were the run stuffers. This is the reason why we got a horrible run defense because those guys
Okay.
are gone. And Woody was the reason behind the trade for Hassan Reddick in the first place. And then when we got him over,
Oh,
and then
okay.
Woody, they wanted him to camp, and Hassan Reddick wanted his contract thing. Woody is the idiot that brings up the stupid stuff about, oh, you got to be in the building before we can do a new deal crap. I was wondering why they was doing that stupidness because it didn't make no sense. If you want a new deal, you deal with the
So he
agent
okayed
from
the
the day.
trade and then he refused to negotiate with him until he actually physically showed up.
Yes, he's the moron behind everything.
Hmm.
Shoot up, shoot.
That's pretty bad then. If he okayed the trade and it was like, no, he's got to be here for us to pay him. And I'm like,
and
that sounds insane.
And just for a 1 second political thing, I just want Trump to get Woody Johnson another ambassador job, but put him in Zimbabwe somewhere, out there in the
Zimbabwe?
middle of nowhere. So he get lost in the woods.
Don't do
And
that to those people.
no. The reason why I
Send him to
want him to go out,
Australia. Maybe
no,
he'll like it
no.
there.
Let me finish. Let me finish. The reason I want him to go out there so those people out there, can beat the crap out of him, be lost, and make him never come back. Something like that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I doubt that.
I don't want him to be
Malik,
back.
I don't want to take just a hard left and change the subject. Malik, how does it
Please
feel
change the
knowing that the
subject.
Lions are the best team in the NFC, probably the NFL,
Lions
but
might be in the Super Bowl this
LSU,
year.
but it cost you LSU being good?
It
I know
feels
Malik is
fine
okay.
because I mean it feels fine it feels fine primarily because I've seen LSU be the best team in college football and finish the season as the best team in college football and win the national championship um you know in in this era, right? In this
Yeah,
time. I've seen it
just a few
happen.
short years ago.
I've seen it happen twice, where they were a
Okay.
really, really good, really great organization and they were run well. Um, and I've not seen this. Like this what's happening right now with Detroit, um,
Is it the first time
is
they've done this since 91 or 92, or is it the
well,
first time they've had this record ever?
it's the first time they've had nine wins, of the first 10, like 9-1 record since 1934.
Jesus.
So like, you're talking about like before
Since the
my
Great
dad was
Depression,
born. Like you're talking about like this is why it's
you're
like
going back to great grandpa here.
yeah. Like so
All
yeah,
right.
this is one of those things where it's like
LSU is just gonna
yes,
have to be bad, I
it's
guess.
it's good. They're good, but this is a different level of good. You want
Yeah.
even at your best times, like it's like I would just get to you like Ace, when the Bears made it to the Super Bowl, like in
Well,
'06,
I didn't care
right?
about nothing else. Yeah, I did. I
But
legitimately didn't care.
right.
I
But
knew
I
the
remember
quarterback was suspect, and I was like, whatever, we're in there. Who cares?
right. But I
Got your
remember
job.
I remember those conversations where it was like, yeah, if they win, it'd be great. They have this amazing defense, but they're not the best team in the not like the hands
Oh
down
no,
best team in the world, like because they were playing against, one of the best teams, on the other side, the Colts, right?
Peyton Manning. Yeah.
So this is a situation where it's different because the Lions are looked at as being like there's no game between now and the end of the season where they won't be favored. There's no game between
Okay.
now and the end of the season where they're being looked at as being like the best team over everybody else. It's like this has never happened before. Sure, the Lions have been a playoff team. They've had good records before. But this to be looked at as being like, oh, hands down the best team in the entire league, and is not, that's the thing that's like
It's not
shocking. And
hyperbole.
that's the
It's
thing.
like legit.
Yeah, like 12 weeks in, no, would have never believed. I would have never believed it at this point. As good as I knew
Okay.
that this team was, I still wouldn't have believed it until I've seen it. So,
Okay.
yeah. If LSU
You
has
know
to
what? I'm shocked.
falter, Brian Kelly can get fired. If Brian Kelly can get fired, and we can hire
They
Deion
ain't got enough
Sanders.
money to pay that man.
But
Yo,
Deion ain't going nowhere now.
when I grow up, I want to become a SEC football. Actually, SEC or Big Ten because these MFers are getting the largest contracts I've seen. One good coaching job from one season. You would think they
Mm-hmm.
invented fire. They're getting like 60 and $70 million buyouts, which means if you fire them, they get like an 8-year deal or 10-year deal for like $90 million. And then if you fire them, you have to pay out the whole contract. NFL coaches don't
Mm.
even. Bill Belichick
Nope.
didn't get that kind of runway, and he won 6 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
The only coach to win 6 Super Bowls with one team as the head coach, and even they're like, nah, we're not fit to give you $80 million to go home and not work. Oh no, oh no no no, we don't do that around here. So like that's what I want to do. Yeah,
You
that
want
I
to be
just yeah, it's just
a
amazing to me.
SEC head coach.
Yes, or Big Ten. They gave that guy at Michigan State. He had 110-win season during 2020. They gave him an $80 million contract. He didn't know what to do with himself. He was hitting on this sexual harassment coordinator for the team, the lady who would come speak to the team, and he's touching himself while talking to her on the phone and telling her about it. I'm like, yo, this guy. It's like, wow, like you got
Oh, he
you got
was
some issues, sir. But that's a whole other side. The Raptors
he was
just beat
super
the
nasty.
T-Wolves. Yeah, let's get into the football. Go ahead, you host.
All right, welcome to the Uptown Parlay Podcast. We hadn't even done a welcome yet, that's apropos for us now. We got I'm your host Malik, and we've got Ace and Ant joining us. What's going on, fellas?
Yes, up.
Life is good. I can't complain.
That is true. That is true. Things are going well. It is Thursday night, just after 10 p.m. We are in the midst of watching the Thursday night football game between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Right now, Pittsburgh is down 10-6. And I wish I was watching this game earlier because I love snow games. And this looks like just football at its finest. Snow games in the middle of, the end of November, getting ready to go into Thanksgiving. This looks incredible. Um,
I do.
so
Oh, sorry,
go
Malik.
ahead.
I just
Go
want to
ahead.
interject one little thing here. Just so we can have it officially recorded because I don't know if it was recorded before. I have to eat crow. You was right, Malik. You was right. Travis Hunter is him, and I don't think some big fat guy gonna magically come out of nowhere and jump him. I'm gonna have to say that right now, and instead of holding out and waiting to March. Yeah, no fat boy is gonna jump this dude. He's definitely getting drafted in 1 or 2.
Well, I appreciate the sentiment. We'll just, like I said, we'll just have to see what happens. Hopefully, he stays healthy and everybody's able to, and everything plays out that way. But I definitely agree that that's where it's trending. All right, so let's get into our picks. Before we do, we'll recap week 11. We all had a good week 11. I had a fantastic, incredible week 11, but I think we all did pretty well. So we picked 14 games last week. Ace went 7-7 and 3-3
Mm,
on his best bets. So exactly
mm,
50%
mm.
across the board.
Down week.
And
Down week for me.
that was down for you because the 2 weeks before that, I think you had 10 both weeks. Uh, Ant went 8-6 and 3-3, 8-6 total, and he went 3-3 on his best bets. Levon went 8-6, and he was 4-2 on his best bets. And I went 12-2, and I was 6 for 6 on my best bets.
Okay, so it was actually your picks. It's not like the Lions was putting a mud hole in. What was that team's name? I don't forgot who it was. They
The
got
Jaguars.
yeah, they got kicked out the NFL last week.
Yeah. And it's funny because the games that I got wrong, I got 2 games wrong. So I got Vikings and Titans wrong, and I got Seahawks and 49ers. I had taken the 49ers and I had taken the Titans in those respective games. And those games could have still covered. Like they were still well within the potential to cover late in those games. Um, where I could have, like, I'd never had a perfect
Yeah, I was about to
perfect
say you
picking
almost had a
season
perfect
ever.
week there.
I could have had a perfect week if those two had covered the way they expected to, but I digress. It was a great week. So hopefully we can carry that momentum. I can carry that momentum into the next week. All right, let's get into week 12. We will start out with the Chiefs at the Panthers. It's a big start with the best game, right? Chiefs at the Panthers. The Chiefs, after coming off of their loss, they are 10.5 point favorites in this game. The over-under is 43.5. Chiefs are on the road here. The Chiefs are coming off of a loss, their first loss of the season against Buffalo in Buffalo.
Called it.
Um, and the Panthers are coming off, if I remember saying, they're coming off of their bye. They did not play last week. But they had won up until now, coming into this game. They had won 2 straight coming into
Correct.
this game. And things were looking a little bit on the plus side for them. They just came off of a win against the Giants. That was that game that they played in Germany, and they won before that. They won that game against New Orleans. So they're rested. We got a rested Panthers team and quite possibly a angry Chiefs team. This may not bode well for good folks in Carolina, but Chiefs and Panthers, Chiefs 10.5 point favorites. Ant, what do you got?
I just want to know from last week, was I the only one who picked the Bills?
No, I picked the Bills.
Oh, okay. See, great minds
I
think alike.
Yeah.
I just kind of messed up a little bit, so I didn't have that near perfect week like you did. But anyway, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. Duh, I'm taking them in the over, and this is gonna be my first lock of the week. I'm not even gonna waste time on this. The Panthers had that nice little relaxation, but Chiefs is gonna go back to going back to work all the way to the Super Bowl. You won't see another loss from them for the rest of the year. Taking the Chiefs, lock it in, first lock of the week, and the over.
So you think the Chiefs are going to go 16-1? You think
Yep.
they're not losing? Okay. Okay.
They might lose
Ace.
in the Super Bowl against the Lions, but I'm even keep quiet about that.
Ace, what do you got?
Because they're getting 10.5, I think they will win by exactly 10. So I'm gonna take Carolina because Carolina's at home. They've had 2 wins in a row. They've figured out a way to play to win. Chuba Hubbard, like they're playing power football. They're running the ball better than they're throwing. And the Chiefs defense wants to out physically. They just weren't able to do it in Buffalo. They will likely do it in Carolina, but Carolina, this is their Super Bowl. They know they're not going to the playoffs, so they're going to have to play amazing. So I'm picking Carolina to cover. There's no way. Like if they win this game, I'll be shocked. Carolina should cover 10.
Okay. Well, I'm going the safe route here. I am also picking the Chiefs with Ant. The two things here. I mean, I hear you because Ace, you guys know I don't like picking the heavy dog. It's heavy favorite here, especially one on the road. But Chiefs coming off of a loss, you know that they're going to be out. They're going to be out to make things happen, and make them happen pretty quickly. And Isaiah Pacheco is likely coming back this week. And that, he's like, surprisingly to me, he's like the most important running back. He sounds like he's the most important running back since Christian McCaffrey, I swear. The way people are talking about how much of an impact he's going to have on this offense. I do think he's going to have some impact because clearly, the combination of Carson Steele and Kareem Hunt and anybody else that they thrown in there, we're not able to, really provide any explosive runs in that offense, which is clearly something that they need to be, for that offense to be right. So maybe he comes back. I believe if he comes back and he's able to be himself, then the Chiefs offense can get back on track, and I think they're able to do that against this Carolina defense. I do think Carolina, they showed a couple things in those last two games, but those were against the Saints and the Giants. Clearly they're going to be playing a defense that's a little bit more it's just a little bit more, reputable than those two defenses are. So I'll take the Chiefs, not locking it in again, 10.5 point spread. Don't like to lock in anything like that, but I definitely take the Chiefs to cover this number.
What?
All right.
Oh, before you go on, what happened to that running back that used to have Clyde Edwards-Helaire or whatever? He used to be, wasn't he used to be the main starter or whatever?
He was there. He actually, I remember this year because I remember thinking about drafting him in fantasy. I remember this year he started the season on the pup, and I think eventually he went to IR. Um, so I don't think it's been a lack of ability or anything like that. I think it's just more
Oh, I thought, okay,
um,
because I thought they benched him or something. I
yeah,
was like, I could have sworn he was around, but all of a sudden he doesn't exist.
yeah,
And I could have sworn Pacheco used to be on a different team before. But anyway, sorry about that. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
Just a
yeah.
side
No
note.
worries. You're all good. Um, all right. Next up, Vikings at the Chicago Bears. This line, and oh, by the way, just as a note, all these lines are coming from FanDuel Sportsbook. So again, your sportsbook, whatever sportsbook you're out there using, the lines may be a little bit different, but that's what we're using for these picks today. And that's what you've been using pretty much since I've been hosting the show, at least. I can't remember which one Ace was using. All right, Vikings at Bears. The Vikings are 3.5 point favorites, and the over-under in this game is 39.5. Um, Minnesota is coming off of a close victory against the Tennessee Titans last week. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, well, they won by 10. But it was closer than it appeared. Um, meanwhile, the Chicago Bears are still skidding somewhat. They've lost four straight, losing to Green Bay in heartbreaking fashion. Ace, I know that probably hurt to watch that replay as a field goal attempt was blocked at the end of the
Like the
game.
double dunk all
Um,
over again.
it was it was pretty crazy. Caleb Williams drove the offense all the way down and put them in position to kick a game-winning field goal, and it didn't happen. Finally, I was upset too because I wanted to see Green Bay lose, but in any event, now the Vikings come to town. The Vikings are 8-2, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they're 8-2, and the Bears are 4-6. Vikings, Bears, 3.5 point spread. Ace, what do you got?
I got the Bears. I'm locking in. They showed me what they could do last week. They literally had the game in hand. They were going to go from not just covering to winning the game. They played a really good game. The defense played really good. Their run defense is terrible, and I think that's where they're going to attack them. Their run stopper DT got hurt. I don't know if he's going to be able to play this game. Gervon Dexter's the three technique. He gets a lot of pressure up the middle, but we will see how they're really good at pass defense. So the Bears' pass defense is sixth in the NFL, and in terms of rushing yards per game, they are want to say 17th or 18th in the league. But the good news is that Minnesota had to sign Cam Akers. So they're not doing great with the run. So that's how the Packers were able to get into the game. And I do believe that the Bears are going to be able to stop the passing attack. I know they're saying Justin Jefferson, but it's really more the fact that they get a little bit of pressure on Sam Darnold, he's going to have problems. And Chicago is still playing in Chicago. So it's another dome team having to play outside. And the weather's going to be bad this week. So that's why I'm locking in the Bears. I'm taking that 3.5. That hook is really what helps too.
All right, and
Yeah, originally I was gonna take the Vikings on this, but as soon as they said the weather's gonna be bad, that's not a good sign there. Yes, the Vikings do have the best wide receiver in the league, but I quite the Bears can actually pull a win out of here at home. So I'm gonna just take the Bears and I'm taking the points on this one.
the 3.5 is very enticing. The hook, especially the hook there, is enticing. This is a game that trends, this is NFC North. This game trends, tends to trend in the direction of being a closer matchup between two teams. I think these teams are closer to one another than their records may suggest in terms of, the Vikings being 8-2 and the Bears being 4-6. The Bears are free falling to some degree. They did look a little bit better in the game last week against the Packers, especially on offense. They looked, Caleb looked a little bit more comfortable. He looked like he was, going through his reads a little bit better, making better throws. I didn't see those like wide open misses that we saw, the weeks prior. So that must mean like he's just feeling more comfortable in the offense since the change was made last week. So I think that there is definitely possible for them to keep the game close. The only reason I'm picking the Vikings here is because of DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift is likely he's gonna. I know he's hurt. He's dealing with a groin issue. He may play, but he's probably gonna be limited. And the one thing that we already do know is that we know what the Vikings like to do with their blitz packages, their pressures, and they're going to do whatever they possibly can to confuse and disrupt what Caleb Williams is seeing, in that front. And I think if you don't have the ability to run the football and to really, hurt them from that perspective, that can make things really, really difficult with Caleb having to orchestrate third and long. I do think that the Bears defense is good enough to keep things close. And they may get a couple of turnovers from young Mr. Sam Darnold again. But I think that in the end, it should be enough. The Vikings should have enough to be able to pull this out by 4 points. So I'll take the Vikings. I'm not going to lock this in. But I hope the Bears win. I'm pulling for the Bears. I want the Bears to win because I like the Vikings to get off of Detroit's back. So
You and me both, brother. You and me both. You should be 5-5 right now at the least. We could be 6-4.
that is true. All right. Next game, the Titans at the Texans. This is a AFC South battle. The Titans are coming off of their loss to Minnesota last week, which I already mentioned. They've lost their last two straight and four of their last five. Houston bounced back after that tough loss against Detroit on Sunday night in Week 10 and walked all over the Cowboys on Monday Night Football in Week 11 with a 34-10 victory on the road there. So they go back home. They're facing facing a Titans team that they've pretty much owned for the last, couple of years, even though Derrick Henry, when he was in the Titans, he used to have his way against the Texans. But the last couple of years have been pretty much the Texans' way. Texans are 7.5 point favorites here. Over under is 40.5. I will go first here. I like the Texans covering the number. The Titans are right now, excuse me, they're 1-9 against the spread on the season. They don't cover. They don't cover numbers. They just don't do it. So there's just there's no precedent right now that leans in the direction of the Titans. So I'm going to roll with the Texans, and I'm going to make this my first lock of the week. I think with CJ Stroud, Nico Collins getting healthier, and playing, and the Texans just, appearing to play some better, more consistent ball over on both sides. This just looks like it's going to lean heavily in their favor. So I'm going with the Texans, and I'm locking this in -7.5. Ace, you're up.
Yeah, I'm going the other way on this because I saw something when Calvin Ridley became the number one wide receiver. The offense seemed to move a little bit better, and I believe Will Levis actually played the last game.
He
I
did.
I don't is he I'm not sure if he's hurt or not. I haven't heard anything about an injury report, which has me leaning towards taking the Titans to cover because of the 7.5. Like they're getting better with these spreads, and I think the Titans just haven't been getting enough points. I was using MGM before, just so y'all know.
Got it.
But Will Levis is healthy. He's having a very average season. 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. But I'd like to point out he has one more interception than CJ Stroud. Will Anderson is hurt, so their best pass rusher is not playing. Joe Mixon is playing. Tony Pollard is playing. You know, I I see. I don't know. I don't see the Titans defense as bad. The fact that the Texans are home is really. I expect them to win but not cover. So if they win by a touchdown, they're good to go. So I'm leaning on the Titans once again to cover, taking the underdogs to cover.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going the other way because I don't believe in Will Levis or whatever his name is, and I don't believe in the Titans. Texas are at home. Last week they stomped over Dallas. Dallas is a better team. I'm going to go with Texans. I'm taking the under in this one. This is going to be my second lock of the week.
Wait, and you said Dallas was a better team. You mean better than the Titans or better
Yeah.
than? Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, they ain't better than the Texans' house. They would have got stomped.
All right. Lions at the Colts. Lions are 7.5 point favorites going into Indy. The over-under here is 50.5. It's another game, road game for the Lions, but another game where I feel like the fans, there's going to be a heavy fan following of Detroit Lions fans in Indianapolis because that's a quick drive, on the highway for them to go and support their team up there. So it's going to be another Lions quasi home game in Indy. The Lions are 7.5 point favorites in this game. Lions are coming off of their 8th consecutive victory last week, doing it in very convincing fashion against the Jacksonville Jaguars, 52-6. Meanwhile, the Colts were coming off of their own, probably their best victory of this season as well, beating Anthony's Jets 28-27 on the road. Both teams look to be having, be in a good space. The Colts, they started Anthony Richardson. He came back from, being benched for a couple of games and probably played his best game as a pro, in that game against a very good Jets defense. And the Lions are just humming along and, beating the brakes off of teams that don't belong on the field with them. I love Kirby Joseph made a comment during the post game of that game against Jacksonville where where he was reminded about the comments made by Xavier McKinney about the Lions trying to run up the score on people, and his comment was simply, we come here to play, and if you're not here to play against us, if you're not going to bring your A game, you're going to get your ass kicked. And that's pretty much what it is. We're not running up the score, we're just playing ball. And if you can't play with us, then this is what's going to happen. So Lions at Colts. I'll pick first on this one since this is my squad. I'm going to roll with my Lions again. I am still at this point 9-2 picking the Lions after 11. I'm sorry, 8-2 picking the Lions after 11 weeks. And I'm going to roll with the Lions here to cover this number. I think 7.5 is it's a big number to cover on the road, but the Lions have proven that they can score, pretty much in any given situation. And aside from the 28-27 victory that the Colts had last week, they had not been able to score more than 20 points. Um, since Pittsburgh, since losing to Jacksonville, and I believe that was in week 6 or week 5 or 6. So they're not a team that's accustomed to getting up above like the 27, 28, 29, 30-point number. The Lions are accustomed to doing that. They average 32.9 points per game on the season. They should be able to score pretty well against Indy and cover this number pretty easily. So I'm taking the Lions, and this is my second lock of the week. And you're up.
So the Colts struggled last week against the worst team of all time in the NFL, and the Lions beat the snot out of Jacksonville. I think the Colts are in the same division, and I'm just gonna go by that type of logic and just say the Lions going to beat the snot out of the Colts as well, and how they coach, and they are a team that's going to be stomping over teams, especially in the Colts type of level. So I'm going to go with the Lions, and I'm taking the over. Yes, I'm taking that 50.5, whatever it is. I'm taking that over. Yes, it's crazy land town, but I'm going to take that, and I'm locking this in as my third lock of the week.
All right. Ace.
Talking about the Lions game, right?
Yes, Lions, Colts, Lions -7.5.
I'm gonna take the Colts and I'm gonna lock them in the cover. The Lions
Of course you
are
are.
they're prepared every week. I am. They're prepared every week, but they're in Indianapolis. And they beat the Jets and people think he was lucky. I think Anthony Richardson just gives them the best chance possible to win. And I think there's two factors here. There's been some injuries on the Lions defense. Alex Anzalone, right?
Yep, he's
He is
out. He's
hurt.
out. He's on IR.
Oh, he is? I just thought it was a couple weeks. Maybe he
No, he's
gets
gonna
set to
miss like
return, but
6 to 8. He's a broken forearm. Six to
oh
eight
damn.
weeks. So he's not
Well,
back until the playoffs at least.
it was him and it was also the safety who was playing in the slot. I can't remember that guy's name. He has a Polynesian last name. He's gonna be the reason why I think they're gonna be able to hit some more deep shots on y'all. And Josh Downs is gonna get a long touchdown that's gonna help them cover. So I am locking in Indianapolis to win this game. The Lions are really gonna have to like just run the hell out of the ball, which they can easily do, but I think that, they know they're coming into a fight. So when you know that up front, it makes it a little bit easier to prepare. So I don't think they're gonna out tough them, but they're gonna be aware of what's happening to them. And they're not trying to get embarrassed at home. Because they got pride too. Those guys get paid too, as they like to say, They're not just gonna go for it. It's not the Jets with Mac Jones who had no shot. Should have known better on that. Sorry about that. But yeah, I'm taking the Colts.
Okay. All right. Are you locked? Did you say you were locking in the Colts or are you just taking them?
I am locking in the Colts, and the
Okay.
Steelers just recovered a fumble in the snow.
Yep. Yep. And they're down 5 with plenty of time left in this game. All right. Patriots at the Dolphins. The Dolphins are, I'm sorry. Yes, Patriots at the Dolphins. The Dolphins are favored. That was right. The Dolphins are favored by 7 at home facing the Patriots. The Dolphins are coming off of their second consecutive win, beating Vegas at home 34-19 and covering that number. They looked pretty good doing it. The defense played pretty well, and Tua looks like he is fully back, fully healthy, and clicking on most cylinders with his offense. Meanwhile, the Patriots are coming off of a 28-22 loss against the Rams. That was a game where they were at home. The Rams came over from the West Coast, and even though they only lost by 6, that game the Rams looked like they were in control the entire game when I watched the replay of that. So this has obviously AFC East, AFC East battle, AFC East, not so much implications, although the Dolphins are still, they still seem to be, they're still mathematically in the hunt for potential playoff berth. And so, they're going to be playing for, that title there. Patriots, I'm sorry, the Dolphins are 7-point favorites, and the over-under is 46.5. And you are the resident AFC East aficionado on this pod. So who are you picking?
The Patriots actually are a good tough team, but I'm gonna go with the Dolphins on this one. They're gonna they making their strides right now as long as they got Tua. They're at home as well. This is definitely gonna be a good game. I'm gonna not lock this in, but I'm definitely gonna take the Dolphins. I'm gonna take the under until they start. I doubt they're gonna start doing stuff like they was doing last year when they was scoring when they was racking up points.
All right, Ace.
I am locking in the Dolphins here. I completely agree with Ant. Dolphins are going to beat the hell out of them. Even when the Pats were good, whenever they would go down to Miami this time of year, for whatever reason, Miami would always pull off some kind of crazy victory. And the fact that they're just outright better than them now lets me know like it's just going to happen. So give me the Fins up. Tyreek Hill's healthy. Their running backs are healthy, and the Steelers just went up on a touchdown to Calvin Austin, the third. Locking in the Fins. They're making a push to be the seventh team in the playoff, and save the head coach's job. So there you go.
I don't want to jinx them, but I think I might start rooting for the Steelers from now on for the rest of the year.
Like,
um,
yeah,
yeah,
a lot of New
they're a
Yorkers
fun
do.
they're a fun team to watch. They're a fun team to watch. And they're playing well with Russell Wilson here. So Russell Wilson has proven that both things can be true. Sean Payton
He's
is is
saying,
a is
"Suck it,
is a
Sean
good head
Payton."
coach.
No, he's
No,
not.
that Sean
No,
Payton is a good
no.
head coach, and no, that Sean Payton made the right decision to get off
Sean Payton
to
likes
remove.
certain players, and Russell
No, no,
Wilson is
no.
playing himself back into the Hall of
Exactly.
Fame.
That's what I'm saying. Both things can be true. The Sean Payton was right to get off of to move off of Russell Wilson and move on to a quarterback that he wanted to coach. And Russell Wilson is not washed as a quarterback. Like those two things can be true.
Yeah,
You
No,
I
know,
kind of agree with Ace
my
with this.
Sean,
Sean Payton just want his type of prototypical quarterback.
my Sean Payton hate
exactly.
still continues.
But he was right to do it. That's my whole
Right,
point. He
right.
was
I
right to
agree
know.
too.
He was right to not stick with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, you don't want to ruin a man's career. Let him move on and find somewhere
Right.
else, which happened.
That's what I mean by both things can be true. He was
Right.
right to not stick with Russell Wilson and go with his quarterback, and it's worked out for Denver. And Russell Wilson was right, was not washed as a quarterback because the sentiment going into this, the sentiment all off season was that Russell Wilson was washed, that was the reason why you move off of him. And
Yeah, I
it's
really
actually
thought he was
not the
washed
case.
too. I thought he was washed last year.
Right. All right, Buccaneers at the Giants. The Bucks are 5.5 point favorites. They're giving the Giants 5.5 points, and the over/under in this game is 41.5 points. Tampa Bay, I believe Tampa Bay is coming off of their bye, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they won. They won. They lost their last game to San Francisco, and they're coming off of their bye. So the thought there is that they would be getting a little bit healthier here. Looks like it looks like Mike Evans might be back from his injury. He logged a full practice on Thursday, so he might be back. So they're getting a little bit stronger from that perspective. The Bucks are 4-6, still challenging to some degree for the opportunity to represent the NFC South in the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Giants are 2-8, coming off of their bye as well and moving off of making the big decision earlier this week to move off of Mr. Daniel Jones as the starting quarterback. This is now the Tommy DeVito or the Tommy Cutlet show. For how long we don't know, but at the very least, starting this week, Tommy Cutlets will be the starting quarterback for the New York Football Giants. Again, Buccaneers minus 5.5 points. Ace, I know you like to poke fun at the Giants and have your fun. So I'm gonna let you start off with the picks here. Buccaneers, Giants, who you got?
The New Jersey Giants will once again fall Tampa Bay Buccaneers by at least 2 scores. Mike Evans is definitely back. They are going to crush. They are going to roll. They are going to rock the Giants to sleep. Sorry for y'all. Sorry that you signed a terrible quarterback. Unless Tyrone Tracy has the game of his life, I do not see a way in which the Giants win this. A better team coming off with rest, and you're putting in your third string quarterback which is what he was listed on the depth chart. He leapfrogged Drew Lock. Drew Lock is a career backup, and he didn't get another shot. So I don't see how that's going to work out for him. But yeah, the Tampa Bay Bucks are going to be giving the Giants the business. So if you have a mortgage, don't take out a second one. But if you want to double up a payment and put it on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win, I would do that.
I should have put a mortgage payment on some of my bets last week. Man, I wish I'd have done that. Would have been
On your
nice with
best
some of
bets, you would have had, good Lord, you'd have like 15 grand right
it's crazy. Um, and Buccaneers at Giants. Who you got?
I kind of feel bad for Drew Lock in this. If I was his agent, and Drew Lock, I'll be packing up my things and looking for a new house. Speaking of mortgages, but as far as for this game is concerned, I want to do something weird. I kind of do that all the time, and something crazy. I do that all the time as well. I want to take the Giants in this one. I want to take the Giants and I want to take the under. There's got to be a real reason why this team is actually believing in the Italian stallion. So I'm going to go go with this and see where this thing goes. Maybe I might be going down with the ship, but hey, see what happens. I would advise everybody to follow this bet if you believe in me.
It's
But
interesting that you say going down with the ship, without
yes,
saying the Buccaneers.
yes.
Um,
But I'm going to take the
I
Giants. I'm
look,
going to take the under.
okay. Look, I'm taking the Bucks. I'm locking this in. I think the Bucks are the better team. The Bucks are getting healthy at the right time, and the Giants are just in disarray. Look, I'm one that believes that this is totally a PR stunt. There's no way that I'll believe, unless I have to be proven, there's no way that I'll believe that Drew Lock is not a better quarterback than Tommy DeVito. There's no way that I'll believe that, after a full season, an off season, and a full season of, uh, you know, practice and everything that they've gone through over the course of the year, that the QB2, who's been the QB2 on the depth chart for the entire year, is not the guy to get the ball for this team. If for
Look,
no other reason than Tommy DeVito is the most popular man in New York. He's the most popular player on the Giants, now that Saquon Barkley is no longer there. And the Giants just need to build some level of excitement, some level of enthusiasm about this team and this organization that's going downhill so very quickly. And did you want to say something?
yeah, I was just going to ask you. So besides the popularity thing, do you think that the Giants basically have the nice hitting agenda of just want to really just tank? That's what most people out there in the world, the average person might be thinking of. Because I know I would.
I
I
mean,
believe that is the case.
I don't think it benefits them to continue to lose. I don't think well, I'll put it this way. I don't think it benefits the coaches to tank.
So,
I,
since we was talking about this earlier, do you think it might be a mandate from above?
yes, I believe that this is a situation where, again, like we clearly know,
DeVito did
you know,
win them 2 games last year. He
he
cost
won
them
them a
getting
couple
Drake
of
May.
games. Right. He won them some games. He won them a couple of games last year, and he was so impactful as a player that they went and signed another quarterback. Like, and they gave Drew Lock like $6 million. Like, it's not like they signed him to like some crappy deal. They gave him a significant amount of money to be the backup quarterback in the event that Daniel Jones did exactly what Daniel Jones did over the course of the season. So they invested money in Drew Lock as the quarterback. That doesn't tell me that they cared much about or they thought much about the Tommy DeVito impact and him potentially being the a viable option at the quarterback position,
Wouldn't it be so nice to
except for
get
the idea
$6 million?
that either one, they're tanking, or two, this is just a really, really interesting PR stunt that we can tap into.
It
What do
would
you say, Ant?
definitely be. No, I was just going to say it's so nice that it gets $6 million to do nothing but hold the clipboard. Because
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
and
you
I'm
seriously.
do.
sure and I'm sure it sucks for Drew Lock because he was obviously, if you're Drew Lock, you came to this team under two positions. On number one, you'll like you said, you'll collect $6 million and be the backup quarterback for the Giants. But number two, this is when you every quarterback wants to be a starter. Every
Right.
backup quarterback wants to be a starter. So I'm sure that there were other opportunities for Drew Lock in terms of potential places to get a contract, but this was the opportunity that he was probably looking at. Daniel Jones is, on the hot seat here in New York. If he doesn't play well, I'll get an opportunity to show what I can do. And he didn't play well. Everything that happened exactly the way that it's supposed to happen or it should have happened. And he's not getting the chance.
You know what's the
I
best
think the
thing about that
Buccaneers
too?
go I think the Buccaneers go crazy and have themselves a good game. I don't think DeVito's going to be bad. I think that,
Right.
they're going to tailor the offense to his strengths. He's going to run around a little bit, but I don't think the Giants are going to score any points. I think the Buccaneers will score enough and I think they'll cover this number.
The last thing I was going to say before you move on to this, if we really messed up, if Drew Lock was actually good enough that he could actually potentially be a starter, and the Giants missed out on this just because they want to go to popular route. They could have actually been found their franchise or their placeholder for the next 2 years.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
It is possible that like DeVito is more familiar with the offense. They do have the same offensive coach from last year in Dayball, so maybe that's why he's getting the chance. But if he's terrible, Drew Lock will still get an opportunity. They got games left, so here's hoping for it.
Yeah. Drew Lock should have gotten the opportunity here. And the fact that he
I
didn't
agree.
just doesn't make much sense to me. All right, Commanders. Cowboys at the Commanders. Dallas is the road dog here. They are 10.5 point dogs. The over-under is 44.5. My gosh, things have fallen have completely cratered for these Cowboys. They've lost five straight, coming off of their another devastating loss to the Houston Texans on Monday Night Football. Um, and they're just looking bad. The Cooper Rush experiment is looking bad. The groundswell of conversation around these Cowboys, and either Micah Parsons one week, the next week it's CeeDee Lamb, the next week it's Jerry, and every week it's Jerry Jones. There's just so much going on with this team. They haven't won since the beginning of October. They haven't won a game since at Pittsburgh on October 6th. This is not the Cowboys that these Cowboy fans are accustomed to. This is the Cowboys team that's supposed to win a bunch of games in the regular season and do really, really well against all these opponents in the regular season and then completely wet the bed in the postseason. They've gotten started with their vacations really, really early in Dallas. And this game against the Commanders, it just doesn't bode well for them. Meanwhile, on the Washington side, the Commanders, they're coming off of two losses of their own. They lost last week against Philly, at Philly in that showdown, that NFC East showdown, and they lost against Pittsburgh the week before at home. So this is an opportunity. There's two teams, coming off of losses in their situation, and Washington's giving 10.5 points. I'll say this. I'd like the Cowboys to cover the number here. I just think with them being able to, get a little bit healthier with Micah Parsons and that defense just being able to make some plays and to keep Jaden Daniels from hurting them with his legs, and he just can't really do that now because of his chest injury that he's been dealing with. He's not able to be dynamic with his legs. And if the Cowboys can just score maybe 17, 20 points, I think this is a low scoring game and it keeps it under number. The 10.5 points just really doesn't sit well with me. So I'm gonna take the Cowboys, but I'm not locking this in. I think the Cowboys plus 10.5 points. Ace, what about you?
Yes, you see where I'm going with this one. I am locking in them Cowboys. Jaden Daniels is hurt. He's playing with bruised ribs, possibly broken ribs.
Ribs,
I
that's right.
think that will affect his play. I think he re-aggravated it last week. He did not play well, and the Cowboys still have some pride. And I think Micah Parsons is going to lead that defense out there and try to shut him down. Their passing defense is soft, so that will be a problem. But Cooper Rush, not terrible, not a terrible quarterback. So they're going to give him the best opportunity to win. Dak Prescott has season-ending surgery. He's going to be coaching them up. This is the team that they're familiar with, so they will go out there and they will do the best they can. And more importantly, this is their former defensive coordinator, so they know what he likes to call. So if anybody should be prepared to attack this defense, it should be Mike McCarthy. He's very familiar with his play caller defensively, so he should be able to attack it. And the Steelers are now playing in a goddamn blizzard. This is crazy.
It's fantastic.
I'm locking
Uh,
in them Cowboys.
and
Yeah, I was just trying to do a little bit of research here because the I was just wondering why Trey Lance is not playing, and from what I've heard is from what I'm reading here is basically Jerry Jones don't want Trey Lance to play at all this year. So on that note, I'm going to go with the Cowboys as well. If it wasn't for what's the name not being injured, I would definitely go with the Commanders. They're at home, but I have to give the Cowboys some type of chance. They got a good, okay team. I don't really want to lock this in, but then those numbers are too high. So I'm just going to take the Cowboys. I'm going to take the under in this one. I don't really think there's going to be that much of a high scoring game. I could definitely be wrong, but it's a game to stay away from, in my opinion.
yeah, I completely agree with that. I completely agree. Stay away from this game. 10.5 points is a lot of points to give up from a Commanders team that hasn't won, that's just lost two straight, and hasn't looked great offensively since Jaden Daniels hurt his ribs. All right, Broncos at the Raiders. The Broncos are 6.5 point favorites here, going on the road against the Raiders. The Broncos had probably, I know we talked about the Lions and scored their 52 points last week. I think the Broncos had the most impressive victory of the week last week. They won 38-6 in absolutely dominant fashion against the Atlanta Falcons team that most people thought was a, legitimate playoff contender. Now, Atlanta still may make the playoffs. I believe they're 6-5 right now. Um, but they really got exposed in that game. And the Broncos defense took it to them, especially on the defensive side of the football. The Broncos but prior to that, had lost two straight. They had lost that game to Kansas City, that heartbreaker on that last second field goal, and they came back in a dominant fashion and took care of business against that Falcons team. So this week they get a Raiders team that's coming off of a loss against Miami in Miami. Um, and the Raiders are still, they're trying to figure themselves out, still a little rudderless, still, trying to figure out what they are, who they are, and what that identity is going to be. But Broncos at Raiders, Broncos -6.5. Ace, what do you got?
I got the Broncos. I'm not locking this in, but I just can't in good conscience pick the Raiders anymore this season. They are not covering. They're not playing well. So I just got to go against them. Their quarterback is looking pretty bad. I saw the highlights. I wasn't able to watch the whole game between them and the Dolphins, but they're just getting rocked repeatedly. They're trying hard. They're fighting, but I just don't think they're going to be able to stick in the game and keep it closer than a touchdown.
Yeah, they are playing hard. They're 4-6 against the spread so far this season. 2-8 overall. And Denver's 6-5, and they're 8-3 against the spread this year. So, this is a team that's been able to cover the numbers even when they haven't won. Ant, what do you?
I'm going to lock this in. I'm going to take the Broncos and Bo Nix, and I'm going to take the under this one. The Raiders are basically quite. I'm sorry to say for Coach Pierce, but the Raiders seem more to be heading towards the bowl of getting the Sanders bowl of getting drafting a Sanders quarterback and maybe getting a Sanders coach. But I'm definitely going to lock this in. I think the Broncos can pull this off, but I'm going to take the under in this one. This is going to be my fourth lock of the week.
Okay, I too am locking in the Broncos. It's a clean sweep for us. Two of us have this as a lock. The Broncos, like I said, the Broncos really impressed me. They showed something. They showed me something last week in that game against the Falcons. And that defense is playing lights out. Is playing, some really, really great football at this point. That loss to Baltimore in Baltimore, that 40 point, 41-10 loss that they had over there seems more like the outlier than the norm, because defensively they've been really, really good pretty much in every other situation so far. I expect them to do the same against the Raiders and Gardner Minshew or whoever's going to be the quarterback on that team. And I expect them to make some plays, make enough plays to keep them above the number here. So a 7-point victory looks like it's in the cards. So Broncos, I'm locking this in for my fourth lock of the week as well. 49ers at Packers. The Packers are 3-point favorites hosting the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco is coming off of a loss last week against the Seattle Seahawks at home, where the Green Bay Packers are coming off of a victory that we talked about a little bit earlier against the Chicago Bears, where they won but did not cover. Green Bay is the home team here, and they're looking to continue. They're winning. They continue winning. They haven't won. They've done pretty well. They'd won 4 straight before their loss to the Lions on the 3rd, and then they had their bye week. So they came back from their bye week and got a victory against Chicago. They're getting a little healthier. Jordan Love is starting to get a little bit healthier. He's continuing to improve. Jair Alexander could miss time. That he's dealing with a PCL injury, so he might be out. But on the San Francisco side, they're all banged up. Christian McCaffrey hasn't looked great since he came back from his injury, his situation with his Achilles, his ankle, or whatever it was. He's only averaged about 3.5 yards per carry since then. We all know Brandon Ayuk is out for the season. And Trent Williams has missed practice for the 2nd day in a row as well. And Nick Bosa looks like he's going to be out as well. So a lot of injuries, a lot of folks down on that side of the ball. I'll go first here. I think the Packers are the better team in this situation. I think the Packers should be able to win this game pretty handily against the San Francisco 49ers. It sucks that the 49ers at 5-5 are still, they're just a average team, and they're dealing with all these injuries. I really did want to get the opportunity for us to maybe play them in the NFC Championship game all over again, this time in Detroit, and see what happens in that situation. But they're just too banged up to really, look at as being a viable contender against a good team like the Packers, especially on the road. So I'll take the Packers, not locking this in, but I like them pretty well here. So I'll take the Packers and I'll give the 3 points. And over to you.
Well, I'm going to take the Packers as well. The 49ers is the weird team. I call them weird on this part when they have these years where, just like this year, they have all these injuries, and then they wind up not making the playoffs or getting bowed out early, and they wind up reloading later on in the draft and getting really good players to come back again next year. This is just definitely one of their down years, and I expect them to lose against the Packers. This is definitely a good team, and definitely a playoff team. So I'm going to go with the Packers. They at home take the under in this one on my end, and I'm going to make this my 5th lock of the week.
Okay. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a weather game as well. 37 degrees and snow in the forecast. Typically hasn't been a problem for a team like San Francisco that runs the ball effectively and plays defense, but this year defense is ranked 16th in the NFL, so it's not the same team that used to be. Ace, over to you.
The Bears were able to get 2 rushing touchdowns last week on the Packers. So with that being said, they were at home. San Francisco's on the road. San Francisco is an underdog or a favorite?
They're the underdog. They're a 3-point underdog.
I'm taking San Francisco. Dueling locks. I'm taking Soul 49er by myself.
Okay.
Deebo Samuel is playing. Javon Jennings is playing. Brock Purdy is limited practice. He has a sore shoulder. And I just believe more in their offense than I do in Green Bay's, right? Green Bay's been sputtering. I don't think they're bad, but if you just straight up, I think San Francisco's a better team. And I'm gonna take those 3 points. Washington ends up being a push, but I don't care. I'm taking San Francisco. I just think they're the better team.
So I guess this is
They
the first
definitely
match
want
of
it.
the week.
This is a game that they legitimately need if they want to make the playoffs, and I believe more in them than I do in the Packers.
Wow. So we're gonna have to look at this is gonna be our highlight game of the week, I guess.
It'd be dueling locks. I haven't seen that in a while. All right, Cardinals at Seahawks. The Seahawks are hosting the Cardinals, and they are 1.5-point favorites in this game. As of right now, this number has leaned, one way or the other. I've seen Seattle +1 and I've seen Seattle -1. I think this is pretty much a pick 'em type of situation here. So yeah, pay attention to this line as you go into your own books. Like I said, FanDuel has it Arizona -1, and others have it Seattle -1. So for the purposes of this conversation, we will assume the Seahawks are the favorites in this one, and giving a point and a half at home against Arizona. Arizona is coming off of their bye, but before that, they've won 4 straight games. Their last win was a very convincing one over the Jets at home, 31-6. And Kyler Murray had probably one of his best games of the season in that situation. Meanwhile, the Seahawks are coming off of a victory against San Francisco last week, where Geno Smith had a very, very convincing, very good game, holding things down and scoring the final touchdown that sealed the game for the Seahawks. Big NFC West matchup. Both teams are hovering hovering right around that 500 level, but more importantly, hovering right around first place in the division. This might be a game for first place in the division. Arizona 6-4, and Seattle is 5-5. So we'll see what happens. But Ace, over to you. Cardinals at Seahawks. Seahawks -1.5. What are you thinking?
Give me the Seahawks. Give me the Seahawks all day, every day. The fact that they were able to come back and steal that game from San Francisco at home lets me know that if they win this game, they're in the playoffs. They're currently in the playoffs right now, literally. I think they're the second wild card. If they win they win this game, they have an actual shot at the division. I do not believe in the Cardinals. They do have an identity, and it's running the ball, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is legit. But DK Metcalf is back, and Jackson Smith and Jigba has been doing some similar things also on the offense. So I believe in Geno Smith, and I believe that they have an opportunity to legitimately win this game outright. And a field goal win, whatever it takes, I believe in the Seahawks. Give me the Hawks. Go Birds.
All right, Ant, over to you.
Yeah, I'm not going to swing around the pom poms, but I'm definitely going to take the Seahawks there at home. It might not be the same type of home field advantage that we're used to from the what's the name, the old days from Richard Sherman and stuff like that. But I'm definitely going to go with the Seahawks. I'm going to take the under. I'm not really too thrilled about the Cardinals. There was one step away before the season started to even looking at what's the name, getting rid of the gnome, go to David the gnome. I'm going to still stick with that name. Um, but yeah, let me stop taking up time. I'm going to take the Cardinals. I'm going to take the under this one.
Wait, you said Seahawks.
Oh, sorry about that. Seahawks. I mean, my fault.
Okay. Yep, the Battle of the Birds. I'll take the Seahawks as well here. The Cardinals are interesting because they are coming off of their bye and they have been playing really, really well, and they have won, I think, like I said, 5 straight going into this game. And they've just won in a lot of different, or 4 straight, sorry. They won in a lot of different ways. They won scoring, scoring big, scoring 30 points. They've won scoring only 17 points. So they've found ways to get victories. And Kyler Murray has been, impressive. He's been typically the type of quarterback, over the course of the years where I've watched him, have a great half of season, great 6 games, but he's put together, what looks like in week 12, he's put together a good season of play. And so, I believe that's likely the trend here. So my biggest play, my best bet play here would be Seahawks on the money line, just getting a victory, especially on a number that's so low. But if the Seahawks are getting points on your book, definitely take them. But even if they're giving points here, I like this number for the Seahawks. 1.5 points should be perfectly fine for them to cover. So I'll take the Seahawks, not locking it in, but I definitely like this for them. Sunday Night Football, Eagles at Rams. The Eagles are 2.5 point favorites here on the road playing against the Rams. The Eagles are officially on contender watch. They've won now 5 straight, or I'm sorry, 6 straight games. Their last loss was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in September, so they have not lost a game in 6 weeks. The competition has been pretty, has been up and down in that 6 week stretch. They played Cleveland, the Giants, the Bengals, the Jaguars, and the Cowboys and the Commanders. So it's been a little up and down in terms of the competition, but you play who's on your schedule, and the Eagles have played who's on their schedule, and they've won a lot of and they've won their games that they've had to play in whatever way that they needed to do so. The Rams, on the other hand, on the other side, they've won 4 of 5, winning last week against New England Patriots in New England, and come back home, still healthy, still being able to play, with their respective group of pass catchers. And Matt Stafford has shown over the course of this season and multiple seasons up to this point that when you give him his requisite players, his requisite guys, he can still get it done as a quarterback in the NFL. So Eagles at Rams. Eagles -2.5. Ace, what you got?
This is going to be my final lock of the week. I think this is my fifth, right?
This would
I am
be your sixth, actually. You have
Oh,
5.
my sixth. Perfect. My sixth lock of the week. I am locking in the Eagles. They are going to crush the Rams. Levon was on here telling me last week that Eagles were not serious. They were not contenders. They are the second best team in the NFC. They will be going to Detroit to play them in the NFC title game. I genuinely believe that. They're the two most physical teams, two best teams with the best offensive lines in the NFC. They will be meeting in the NFC title game. Lock it up. That is my pick.
Okay. I'm going the other way. This is dueling locks again for the second time in a week. This is amazing. I'm locking in the Rams. I like the Rams getting points here, getting those 2.5 points at home on Sunday night. I think that the what we've seen from the Eagles defense thus far this season has happened against some quarterbacks that are not the pedigree, are not the caliber of Matthew Stafford, and he should be able to orchestrate his offense in whatever way he needs to against the secondary in Philly that's not as good as as not as good as it's been in the past. So I think that the Eagles can win this game. I wouldn't be surprised if they did win this game, but I think the Rams are able to will be able to play pretty well at home under the bright lights, prime time, and cover the number. So I'm going to lock in the Rams +2.5. And over to you.
Also going to take the Rams. I'm not going to lock this in, but I'm going to take the under in this one. You are saying what you're saying earlier, Malik, is correct. The Eagles haven't been going against good quarterbacks, and to me, I think the Eagles are a little bit shaky type of team going up against the Lions in the overall NFC situation. So I'm going to take the Rams on this one until the Eagles actually prove to me that they're actually a better team than the record show. As far as their record show, I don't really believe that type of record on this one. I'm going a little off track, but I'm going to take the Rams on this one and the under.
All right. And then that brings us to the final game of week 12, the Har Bowl, as what everybody's been calling it. The Baltimore Ravens, led by John Harbaugh, going to LA to play against the Los Angeles Chargers, led by Jim Harbaugh, younger brother, Jim Harbaugh. So both of these teams are they're obviously good teams, and they're both playing at a above 500 level. The Chargers come in at 7-3 after having won 4 of their last 5 games. Most recently a win against the Cincinnati Bengals in a game where they were ahead by 2 or 3 scores. Cincinnati came all the way back, took the lead, and Justin Herbert and the offense led the Chargers back down, took the lead, and were able to win the game. Meanwhile, Baltimore is coming off a very, very weird, to say the least, loss against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who just appear to be their nemesis, who appear to be their kryptonite, who appear to be able to defeat them and make them look bad when they've looked really, really good for the most part throughout the course of the season. The Ravens have seemingly won game that some seemingly lost games that they should have won, against Vegas and Cleveland and even that game against Pittsburgh, where you're looking at them to be the better team and they don't come out and play that way. But they're still 7-4. and they're still looking pretty good, and they still got their bye week to come. So, there's an opportunity for them to get a little bit healthier. But Ace, your adopted team, the Ravens at the Chargers, Jim versus John. Who you got?
We're going with John. He beat him in the Super Bowl. He had a better quarterback then. Well, yeah, he had a better quarterback then, and he has a better quarterback now. He's going to beat him again. This team is built on running the ball, and they're not going to out physical the Baltimore Ravens. It's just not going to happen. The Steelers try to do that. It's not going to happen again. They got Derrick Henry. They got the better running back. They got the better running game, and they got a really good defense. Uh, Joey, not Joey Bosa is hurt. I think you were talking about Nick Bosa. His little brother is hurt. Their pass rushers
Nick
are
Bosa
hurt.
was hurt. Yeah, Nick Bosa is hurt for San
Nick
Fran.
Bosa is hurt, and Joey
Yeah,
Bosa is also hurt
yeah.
for San Diego, aka the LA Chargers, where they are. Khalil Mack is healthy. They have two great tackles, so they're running the ball and they're very physical. But I do see this being a very physical game, and the fact that they're going out there and weather is not going to be a factor because they're in LA in a dome. I think if they blitz, it's going to be a problem, and he's going to be able to pick apart. Lamar's going to be able to pick apart that team. That is not something that Pittsburgh actually did. They were just focused on stopping the run, and I think they're just going to give the ball to Derrick Henry. They're just going to try to run, 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 and all they need to do is hopefully their kicker can come through with a few kicks. They let him down last week. I don't know what's going on with this guy. He's fallen to like 70%, where he was at like 93. He was the greatest kicker. I thought he was a Hall of Famer, Justin Tucker, and now he is just like middle of the road. So I'm hoping it doesn't come down to some field goals because he may let them. But I'm betting on Lamar, and I'm picking straight up him and Henry, straight up and down.
All right, Ant, over to you.
One thing I noticed about kickers is that they have when they have all the confidence in the world, they're the best kickers in the world. When they don't, that's what basically happens. But I'm gonna go with the Ravens on this one. I want to make this my final lock of the week. I don't know if I had 6 or if I have more. But
Yep,
anyway,
this is your sixth.
okay. So I'm gonna go make this my final lock of the week. I'm gonna take the Ravens. I'm gonna take the under. This is gonna be an old school battle royal. Quite the second time the brothers face each other, at least that I remember. Who knows? Maybe you can quite throw a prop in there saying that it's going to be a blackout by the third quarter. By the third quarter, see if that goes in. But anyway, this is going to be my last lock of the week. Ravens and the under.
All right, just for kicks and giggles here, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to take the Chargers. The one thing about the Ravens that we know, that there's two things about the Ravens that we know based off of this season so far. When Derrick Henry runs the ball and gets more than 13 carries, they're very good. When he gets less than 13 carries or less than 16 carries, they're not very good and they lose. Um, I think that the Ravens understand this now. They've clearly understood this, and they try not to get too cute. If they try not to get too cute and they let Lamar, do what he needs to do in a setting, in a situation, in an empty set, um, and really to make plays down the field, they're much better. Then they hand the ball off to Derrick Henry in the I formation, they're much better. I think that they'll try to get back to that, but the Chargers are just a really good football team. I think this is a coverable game for the Chargers. I don't necessarily think this is a game that they win, but I definitely think this is a game that they can cover the number here. So I'm going to take the Chargers, and I want those 3 points for the home dog. All right, that's it for us today. Our 6 locks. Let's just go through those locks before we close out. Ace is locking in the Bears, the Colts, the Dolphins, the Cowboys, the 49ers, and the Eagles. Ant is locking in the Chiefs, the Texans, the Lions, Broncos, Packers, and Ravens. And I am locking in the Texans, the Lions, the Buccaneers, the Broncos, the Seahawks, and the Rams. All right, shout outs, guys. Ace, I'll start with you.
Shout outs. Shout out to the NBA for the beautiful start to the season. Shout out to Karl Anthony Towns. Shout out to my Knicks. Shout out to my UB Bulls for winning another game on the road in action and putting it on Eastern Michigan at their what they call the factory with their gray turf. It's the saddest, most dreary looking field in all of college football. It's a factory of sadness, which is what it is. and they need to put some color on that field. It looks terrible. We went out there and beat our old quarterback, which I find hilarious. Cole Snyder, he transferred from Buffalo after he lost his starting job, went to Eastern Michigan, and we beat him at it. I wish the man nothing, young man, nothing but the best in the future, but he is 24 years old and he should have graduated already, and this is his fifth or sixth year of college football. Shout out to the college football playoff for just causing insanity and all the SEC and Big Ten fans saying we both deserve 4 teams in. The rest of these teams aren't any good. I can't wait till the ACC gets 2 teams in and the Big 12 gets 2 teams in, and y'all end up getting blown out by Colorado and Miami, respectively. I am genuinely going to enjoy that, and that is going to be a really fun thing to watch. And I just can't wait for the college football season to. I'm really enjoying it. Aside from that, my school is going bowling again. They are 7-4, and the Cleveland Browns pulled off an improbable comeback in a damn snow globe. It is wild. The Steelers are still going to the playoffs, so maybe this will. Oh, and they're trying to beat up George Pickens. This is crazy. He got grabbed by somebody in the stands. Oh wow! And shout out to Jameis Winston for his pregame speech where he's out wrestling Russell Wilson. Never thought I would see that, but shout out to him, and I appreciate everything that's going on.
All right, Ant, over to you.
First I'd like to give a shout out to Amazon Prime. I do like that Prime Vision thing. It actually looked like something out of Madden type of situation. It kind of disappeared. I noticed when the snow started picking up, and I guess they couldn't do it anymore. They was literally was highlighting every player, on the offense, and there was some players on defense if it did look like it was in a good situation. And they were even the angle was like a Madden type of game. And when they hiked the ball, you actually see they was drawing the lines and stuff like that. It was kind of cool for people who want to watch it and see what was going on, whatever. But they got to do some type of improvement when it comes to the snow. My next shout out was going to be to Jake Paul. He actually turned the Make a Wish quite a most expensive Make a Wish Foundation to a good profit. It was kind of smart of him to actually put in the contracts to make sure that he doesn't get any uppercuts, make sure that Tyson has to actually go all rounds with him so he could get paid on this instead of just knocking his behind out in the first round, because there are some videos that have been shown out there that Tyson could have knocked him out in the first or second round. And it was good, basically a good show, even though some people by that got the sword thanks to Netflix, who has to kind of work on that little thing there about them freezing up or whatever. But also shout out to Mike Tyson. He actually showed even though he had that surgery, almost died from, I think it was a surgery for his ulcer, but he almost basically died or whatever. But he came back a couple of months later on and actually still stuck to it, still put on quite a good fight for his age. But mostly shout outs to the female boxers that fought before. I don't know their names. Maybe Malik, if you have a shout out on that later on, you might actually name me names. I do apologize about this, but I'm not no boxing fashion boxing expert or whatever. But shout out to them, they who's actually put up a great match or whatever. And hopefully, the Netflix learned from this and they actually will pick things up. I think they have the NFL later on this year, and we don't want to have games where it's hard to actually watch a game. But anyway, that's all my shout outs of the week. Notice I left a certain team, a certain name off of it. Thank God I'm not going to mention them right now.
Thanks, Ed. The boxing match that you're talking about was Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. Yes, I will completely agree with you on that. That was an incredible fight between two ladies
Fire
that
boxing
basically
match.
gave it their all.
And the fight before
Um,
that between the other 2 gentlemen in the welterweight fight was really good.
yeah, that was good as well. Um, I do think Amanda was robbed in that match. I do think that
I
definitely shouldn't
agree.
have been a unanimous decision. Um, but I think that she definitely, held her own and should have won that fight. But in any event, it was a very, very good fight. And it was the second fight between the two of them. Apparently, the first fight between the two of them was really good as well. And the great news is that Amanda is 100% interested in a rematch. So we might get a third one of those, which I hope is able to be its own bleeding card. That's the thing I want to see with respect to this is it looks like after these two fights, people will be interested in seeing this fight against with these two ladies again. And they could potentially lead a card instead of being an undercard on a fight that, was just really more of a spectacle than an actual, an actual event. Um, that said, I just have two quick shout outs. First shout out is to Aaron Judge, Yankees Aaron Judge, and to a smaller degree, Shohei Ohtani. Unanimous MVPs in Major League Baseball for and Judge, and both Judge and Ohtani had incredible seasons for their respective teams. Were able to meet as meet in the World Series as expected. Unfortunately, the Yankees did not win. Ohtani's Dodgers were able to pull this out. But respect to both guys for, putting on an incredible show for us on both the AL and NL perspective. Uh, Judge flirting with the record again to surpass his 62 home runs from a couple of years ago, and Ohtani putting up the first 50 home run, 50 stolen base season in MLB history. So shout outs to them both. Um, shout outs to the shout outs to the New York Giants quarterback Daniel Jones. Look, it's got to be really really tough to accept the fact that you haven't been good, you were not good enough, and you lost the opportunity to be the starting quarterback of the Giants. But he's for the most part taking it in stride. He realizes that he's been Russell Wilson, which I think is a thing now, where there's a injury clause in his contract that says that if he is injured by the end of the season, he gets like 80% of his money. And so he's being benched partially because of poor play, but also because the Giants don't want to pay him that money if he were to go out there and get himself hurt in those last of the season. So last games of the season. So he's being Russell Wilson in the same way that Russell was last year with the Denver Broncos. But he took it in stride. He apparently lined up at safety during practice earlier today, and in his speech in his meeting with the media, he faced those questions head on, and I respect that. He did not have a good career here in New York. Good, oh, sorry, not here, as I'm in Georgia, but he did not have a great career in New York. Um, but he wasn't, he's not, not showing any hard feelings about it. And when you've got $40 million, probably good to just kind of bow out gracefully. And that's what he did. So shout out to him for doing that. All right. That's it for us. Ace, you got any college picks you want to give before we roll off?
Colorado, they're gonna win on the road to secure the Big 12 title game matchup. I would also I would also advise at picking Georgia. They're playing some random weak school like the SEC is wont to do. And I would also take in small schools, I would also take Bowling Green taking on Ball State.
All right.
Oh, and I would
Uh,
also take Army getting those 14 and a half points against Navy. I think it may be up to 15 or 16.
All right. And before we roll off, just one last thing. I know we don't really talk about this sport much at all, but I do want to highlight for anybody that's watching, that's anybody that is watching hockey, that Alexander Ovechkin is very, very close to breaking Wayne Gretzky's career goal scoring record. If you don't remember, um, Wayne Gretzky finished his career with 894 career goals. It was a record that at the time nobody thought would ever be surpassed. And Ovechkin sits now at 868, although he unfortunately did lose. He did get hurt yesterday, and he's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. So it's put the track, put the chase on hold for a little bit. But shout out to him. He's been a great hockey player over the course of his career. And the fact that he's even close to this record is absolutely incredible. And so if you are a hockey fan and you're watching this, I'm sure there's money that you can put down on when the record be broken. And if he doesn't break it this year, maybe he'll break it next year because he expected he'll come back just to get that done. All right. And we're out. Peace.
Ace. Malik, Ace.